What sources of energy do people use? Most often we hear about coal, natural gas, oil, and also nuclear power. All of these are non-renewable sources that will run out sooner or later. Some experts believe that we will be able to turn tail upon fossil fuels in 30 years. Others think it's impossible. So, where will we get energy from in the future? Short story of the future. More than 160 trillion kilowatt per hour was produced in the world in 2018. Now energy is mainly used for heating and cooling buildings, as well as in the field of transport. Electricity accounts for only 17% of all energy consumption. Most of our energy comes from natural resources. But there is another way to get energy. It's possible to use ongoing processes in the environment, plant raw materials or organic waste. Such energy is called renewable. How do modern power plants work? Most power plants operate on the same principle. To produce electricity, they most often burn coal or gas, start a nuclear reaction. The resulting thermal energy heats the water and turns it into steam, which turns the turbine and the generator attached to it. This produces an alternating current. The wind turbine uses the power of the wind instead of steam. The wind flow spins the blades that make the rotor move, and the movement of the rotor ensures the conversion of mechanical energy into electrical energy. Hydropower plants generate energy using the pressure of water, which is lowered down the dam from top to bottom. Some power plants can not only generate but also store it, and the station spends unused energy on pumping water into the upper reservoir, and at the peak of energy consumption it generates it by dumping water from the upper reservoir into the lower one. Solar panels convert light energy into electrical energy. Each battery consists of solar cells, which are divided into two layers with an excess and deficiency of electrons. Photons cause electrons to move from one layer to another. The movement of electrons generates a constant electric current. Nowadays, solar panels are being actively improved. The efficiency of a standard silicon panel does not exceed 22%, but the use of multi-layer cells increases this efficiency to 47%. Today, experts have ensured that photovoltaic panels have become cheaper and more reliable in operation. Research is also underway in the field of wind energy. Scientists have already made attempts to design a windmill with a different number of blades, experimented with the shape, but so far the classic version with 3 blades remains the most effective for wind turbines. However, in the future, the wind station will be able to provide significantly more energy. To do this, it will be necessary to raise the wind turbine, increase the height of the mast and the diameter of the wind wheel. Now, scientists are working to make such installations economically viable and safe. In addition to the energy of water, sun, and wind, in some regions tidal energy and geothermal sources of the earth are actively used. What is the advantage of alternative power plants? The main disadvantage of renewable power plants is that it's impossible to regulate the operating time and their power. Conventional power plants produce significantly more energy than alternative power plants, but when calculating the overall efficiency, the cost of plant construction and maintenance must be taken into account, as well as fixed fuel costs. Solar and wind energy do not use fuel, and maintenance costs are significantly lower. It turns out that the cheaper solar panels and windmills become, the higher their chance in the future to replace traditional power plants. Another important advantage of renewable sources is their environmental friendliness. When using traditional resources, greenhouse gases are released into the atmosphere, and soil and water are poisoned with harmful substances. Nuclear power plants, despite their carbon neutrality, require permanent disposal of hazardous nuclear waste. Renewable resources have a reduced environmental pressure. What hinders the spread of alternative power plants? For now, the world's transition to renewable energy sources is not balanced. Most of the energy is spent on heat generation, and the share of renewable sources in this area is extremely small. The development of the economy cannot keep pace with the construction of power plants. There have already been such cases in China when new wind farms were not connected to the grid for a long time and they stood idle. Getting sun and wind energy is intermittent, so they require energy storage devices, capacious, economical, and with a large number of recharge cycles. In addition, energy can be stored in compressed air, hydrogen, or in a hydroelectric power plant. But no optimal solution has yet been found. The main factor for the transition to renewable energy sources should be the political decision of specific countries. Today, in many countries, the interests of the oil and gas industry are still strong. It is unprofitable for investors to close traditional power plants in which they have invested, and those plants will be able to provide people with energy for several more decades. It is difficult to predict how long the resources of the earth will last for us. It is possible that new technologies will allow us to discover still unexplored deposits. In addition, gradually with the development of technology, the energy efficiency of devices will increase. Renewable energy sources make it possible to reduce emissions of harmful substances into the atmosphere, and in some regions their use is even more efficient than coal or oil use. Experts believe that in the future we will come to an optimal combination of various energy sources. It's reasonable consumption. Who knows, maybe in 50 years we will be getting biofuel from microalgae, filling cars with hydrogen and controlling thunderstorms, learning how to generate energy with the power of thought, and solar panels will cover all the cities on our planet.